Welcome, KSLU LLB students. Right, I need everyone to settle down and pay very close attention. Today, we're undertaking a definitive, absolutely rigorous examination of one of the most frequently asked and, honestly, most often poorly answered questions in your property law paper. We're looking at defining immovable property, what's included, what's excluded, and of course, solving that classic mango tree problem. Now, treat this explainer as your definitive guide to securing maximum marks. I want a strict academic focus from here on out. Okay, let's begin.
Synopsis. 1. Introduction. 2. Bare Act definitions. 3. Included and excluded. 4. Legal annexation test. 5. Mango tree problem. And 6. Landmark case laws. Now, listen to me very carefully. You must reproduce this exact list on page 1 of your answer booklet under the heading Synopsis. Doing this immediately secures the evaluator's confidence and establishes that, yes, you possess a highly structured legal mind.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Introduction to Immovable Property. The concept of immovable property is fundamental in property law. It is defined under the Transfer of Property Act, 1882, and the General Clauses Act, 1897. Now pause for a second. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is an absolute necessity to cite both the 1882 and 1897 Bare Acts right there in your opening paragraph. If you only mention the Transfer of Property Act, your answer is fundamentally incomplete. The KSLU evaluator will deduct marks right at the outset, so mention both, and always with their respective years. Moving on to Section 2, the Bare Act definitions. Precision here is absolutely non-negotiable for a 16-mark answer. The Transfer of Property Act, 1882 states, immovable property does not include standing timber, growing crops, or grass. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the legal anomaly. The TPA provides a strictly negative definition. Notice that? It doesn't actually tell us what immovable property is, it only dictates what it's not. You absolutely must point out this negative definition to the examiner in your script. And because the TPA is negative, we must rely on the second statute. The General Clauses Act 1897 states, immovable property includes land, benefits arising out of land, and things attached to the earth. You see, the General Clauses Act essentially rescues the student and, frankly, the practitioner by providing the positive inclusions that the TPA deliberately left out. Ensure both of these definitions are placed sequentially in your exam answer. All right, Section 3. What is included and excluded? Mentally prepare to draw a clear bifurcation here to show off your structured legal thinking. Included, land, benefits arising out of land, attached things, versus excluded, standing timber, growing crops, grass. Let me give you a brilliant strategy. Draw a comparative table just like this directly on your exam sheet. It literally forces the evaluator to see that you've perfectly captured the statutory bifurcation, and it nicely breaks up the monotony of long paragraphs. Let's expand on those inclusions. We have land, which encompasses surface, soil, and minerals. Then, benefits arising out of land. Think rent, profits, and income rights. Next, attached to earth, like buildings and permanent fixtures. Then we have embedded in earth, such as walls and houses. And finally, attached for permanent enjoyment, like doors, windows, and machinery. Now, you need to walk through these methodically in your paper. Make sure to neatly categorize and distinguish between things that are embedded, like the foundation of a house, versus things attached for permanent enjoyment, like heavy machinery bolted to a factory floor. Trust me, this level of granularity is what fetches distinction marks. Now, exclusions expanded, these are your movable properties. First, standing timber, meaning trees meant for cutting, like teak or bamboo. Second, growing crops, which are seasonal crops like wheat and paddy. And third, grass, which is natural produce not permanently attached. I must firmly clarify this for you all. These three specific categories are legally treated as movable property. You must highlight them as statutory exceptions. Please do not confuse a seasonal paddy crop with a permanent fixture. Section 4. The Legal Annexation Test. So, the crucial point is, how do courts practically determine what is actually attached to the earth? Courts apply the following test. First, the degree of annexation, meaning how firmly is it attached. And second, the object of annexation, meaning the purpose of the attachment. You need to explain to the evaluator that applying these tests isn't just about whether something is nailed down, the degree, but why it's nailed down, the object. Is it just there temporarily, or is it there for the permanent, beneficial enjoyment of the property? Applying this in your exams shows a very deep, practical understanding of property law. Next up, Section 5, the mango tree problem. A classic. Is a mango tree legally classified as immovable property? Take a second. Formulate an answer in your head right now using the legal test we just went over. I demand your full attention here because giving a simple one-word answer will get you exactly 0 marks. The answer is yes. Generally, a mango tree is immovable property. Here's the reasoning. It is not meant for immediate cutting. It is attached permanently to land, and it gives recurring benefit, namely the fruit. Conclusion, it is not standing timber. Break down this logic step by step, just like this on the page. You have to explain how the recurring benefit of the fruit directly ties back to the object of annexation test we just learned. The intention is not to chop it down for wood today. The intention is to harvest fruit year after year. Therefore, it's immovable.
All right, Section 6, Landmark Case Laws Breakdown. Now listen, this section is exactly where you elevate your grade from a mere pass to a university distinction. Shantabai versus State of Bombay. Write this case law in a separate, clear, boxed format on your paper to immediately capture the KSLU evaluator's attention. Here is the breakdown of Shantabai v. State of Bombay. Facts. It addressed the legal nature of trees on a property. Ratio descendendi. The court distinguished clearly between standing timber and trees providing long-term benefit. Relevance. It establishes the core test of intention. Is the tree for recurring use or immediate timber? Let's dive deeper. The background here was that the court had to figure out if granting the right to cut trees was a transfer of movable or immovable property. The absolute relevance to our mango tree problem is that ratio descendendi establishing intention. If a tree draws nourishment from the soil for further sustenance and yields recurring benefits, it's immovable. But if the intention is to cut it down ASAP, it's movable. Make sure you detail this test explicitly.
State of Orissa v. Thitagur Paper Mills Co. Limited. I want you to strictly double underline the second landmark case name on your paper.
Let's look at the breakdown of Thitagur Paper Mills. Facts. It involved a contract concerning the cutting of bamboo and timber. Ratio decidendi. It explicitly explained the difference between standing timber and immovable property. Relevance. This case cements the Supreme Court's stance that an agreement to cut trees immediately is a sale of movable goods, not immovable property. Let's dissect this. A paper mill company entered into a contract to extract bamboo to make paper. The Supreme Court rigorously analyzed the definitions we've discussed. Because the bamboo was clearly meant to be severed and taken away for industrial use, it fell perfectly under standing timber. Let me be clear, citing this exact reasoning is mandatory for scoring full marks. It proves to the examiner that you understand how a contract that alters the object of annexation fundamentally changes the legal nature of the property itself.
Finally, Section 7, Conclusion. Let's talk about how to properly conclude your answer script to leave a really strong final impression.
Conclusion. Immovable property includes land, benefits arising from land, and things attached to earth, while excluding standing timber, crops, and grass. A mango tree is immovable property because it is intended for long-term use and not immediate severance. And this brilliantly illustrates how all your previous headings culminate into one flawless, marks-fetching summary. Conclude your answer by synthesizing the statutes, the inclusions, the legal test, and the case laws, just like this.
If a mango tree is sold today under a strict contract to be uprooted and chopped for firewood tomorrow morning, does it legally remain immovable property? I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative, exam-style hypothetical. Apply the intention and annexation tests you've just learned from the Thitagur Paper Mills case and ponder that legal transformation on your own. Structure your notes, master these definitions, box your case laws, and you are going to absolutely dominate this paper. Class dismissed.